Hey, this is Trip Foster of Media Trust. I'm here with Scott Wolf of ArcaMax. He's the president and CEO of ArcaMax. Will you tell us a little about what ArcaMax does?
We are a publisher of consumer newsletters, email newsletters. We're publishing currently about 100 daily titles. Most of it is content that our users are familiar with from other media. In many cases, we have 30 different comic strips like Garfield, New Yorker cartoons, Doonesbury, Baby Blues, a number of feature columns such as recipes with Wolfgang Puck, gardening, Dear Abby, and so forth.
Gotcha. Now, one of the things that I'm interested in, I think everybody's interested in, is email is it's competing with some other mediums now. What do you think the future of email looks like?
Well, every other day you can read something in the trade press that asks the question, is email dead?
Sure.
And people say things like, my 15-year-old doesn't even use an email account. They text and chat and have a Facebook account and MySpace. And the question I always ask people, Trip, let me ask you, do you have an email account?
Yeah, of course.
And what happens if you're out of touch with your email?
I get a little bit squirrely, yeah.
I think all of us, if our email ever goes down, we almost feel blind, like we're just not in touch with people. And I don't really think that's going to go away. Email is the most convenient method of communicating with people. I mean, certainly if a person has a profile within a social network, they can communicate within the context of that social network. But their mom doesn't necessarily belong to that network, or their cousin, or the person they used to work with, or business contacts that they're making. It's just, in my mind, it's limiting to put email within that framework of just a network. It's the tool that most people use to communicate online.
So the ubiquity and the sort of limitlessness of email is obviously an important criteria,
Sure.
But also I might just sort of guess that security of email is probably a little more robust than all these other mechanisms. Do you want to talk to that?
Well, certainly in the business context, I can't imagine a corporation is going to give the keys to the kingdom to with their corporate communications to something that doesn't have a security infrastructure. And email in particular is 10 years ahead of these other types of applications, and not to mention there's an archiving function that goes along with it. It's a tool that's here, and it's been so successful despite the fact every one of us fights spam. Right. We all check our email every day, and we just can't imagine living without it. It's simply at this point, I think, a matter of publishers who are using email to be taking the responsibility of sending messages that are appropriate for the recipient.
Right. Sort of the police yourselves, make sure you're conducting yourselves with a high level of integrity. Make sure that that you're only sending the right messages so that people aren't getting spam. So that the medium will continue to be as valuable as it is today.
Well, and to a large extent, I think that almost is reached a point where it's taken care of itself, in the sense that the ISPs, Yahoo, MSN, AOL, they're not going to let your mail through the door. Right. It's harder and harder to get into the inbox, and if you don't have the proper permission, if your SPF records and domain keys and all of these different types of protocols aren't in place, then your mail's not going to get delivered, and it's going to get blocked, or it's going to get sent to the junk mail folder, and ultimately it won't work as a marketing message. So I think to a large extent, the market is taking care of that.
Sort of the invisible hand of email marketing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.